Are just about ready to get into the first game. It's going to be Bertik on the Mage and MeknugetZz going for his Shaman.
Yep, Patches in opening hand is going to get thrown away, of course, and the Shamans that we're seeing in this tournament, a little bit surprised. I think they're universally aggro. I can't say that with 100% confidence, which does surprise me because there are a lot of really powerful control Shaman strategies in Wild, right? Like, be it just N'Zoth Shaman, be it, Ancestral Spirit kind of Mimi Shaman that we've seen in occasionally in Standard, and then Malygos kind of combo Shaman as well. All of these are very, very viable decks, but it seems like many of the players in this tournament have come up with the same read that aggro decks are going to be the way to go. The problem is, even if you make the correct read, but it's the same correct read that everyone else in the tournament
what
makes,
happens, right?
That cancels out your advantage. So we're kind of looking for one player to kind of go one level deeper, and maybe that's what we're seeing from the triple Reno lineup that we see from Masink in the opener. So he's actually looking very, very well positioned, but it's going to be, again, a battle of two quite aggressive lineups here between the youngster Bertik and the experienced level head of MeknugetZz.
Yeah, and Bertik's Mage is the Freeze Mage, actually. So this is a deck that plays a little bit more like old school Freeze Mage because it has Ice Lances. Yes. But I have played against this deck in Wild, and one of the most terrifying games I had was when I was like, okay, I'm on a reasonable amount of health. I'm feeling okay. And then I forgot, because it was very soon after the expansion dropped, that you can glyph into Ice Lance in Wild. Correct. And my opponent went Kobold, Frostbolt, Ice Lance, Ice Lance, Ice Lance, Ice Lance, and I just died. And I was like, well, ow. In case you're worried at home, do not adjust your sets. That was not a skip. There was not record skipping. Yeah. That was actually Raven correctly listing the number of Ice Lances that he got hit with. 4, just in case you didn't catch it up.
Yeah. But just to go over it more in detail, this is the Evolve Kobold Emperor Thaurissan list that we were used to seeing. The Freeze Mage list that actually got so powerful at one point that it was even doing okay against Justicar Control Warrior, right? Like, that's how much damage you can pack in there. And when your goal is to Emperor a hand and then string together a huge combo with Evolve Kobold, Primordial Glyph, which is already one of the stupidest cards in the game, becomes infinitely more stupid because you just find another discounted spell that can fit into that same Kobold turn. Yeah, and also it can actually be discounted even more if it hits Emperor while it's in your hand. Yep. So truly ridiculous things can happen, but MeknugetZz, I apologize for anyone that had to hear that and watch that, but that is in fact a Totem Golem. It is back with a vengeance. We are all, I would say reminiscing, but that's normally a positive emotion. But, just thinking about the dark times when Totem Golem was played against us and then we lost. Perhaps a controversial statement, but I don't think too many people will disagree with me. No one card leaving the format has improved the game more than Totem Golem.
I would have to agree with that.
It's just such a miserable card.
Yeah.
Hi, Totem Golem!
And the frustration mainly, I think, similar to Lightning Claws, was...
Lightning Claws?
Let's just call it Spirit Claws. I wish they were called Lightning Claws. Spirit Claws is that a card being very powerful, like too powerful, is a problem, right? But when that card is 2 mana or 1 mana, that's when it's too much to handle, and that's where the category of Totem Golem did fall into. But at the moment, back a more focused lens onto the game, MeknugetZz is actually going pretty wide on the board, nothing too crazy. We did see some old favorites like Feral Spirit, we've not seen in a while. But suddenly with this weapon, with the minions just chipping away on board, a little bit too early to Feral Frost Nova Doomsayer. And then, there's cards like Crackle as well, which we've not really spoken about, which can just sort of just clinch out a game out of nowhere, right?
Or, alternatively, not. Such is the nature of Crackle.
Yes. Unpredictable. Sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it.
Super crucial, though, while we were having our Totem Golem discussion, Bertik, I think quite rightly, he didn't have the Frost Nova in hand at the time, so he just went for Tempo Doomsayer against a border. It was kind of difficult for it to go down. It did go down, but perhaps not in the way that Bertik was expecting. It was Jade Claws into Deckhand that got the job done. It was a little bit exposed to Flame Tongue kind of plays, but he really needed to try and grab back that tempo, so he took a fairly middling percentage line that the board would be clear from his Doomsayer, as opposed to just trying to hold on and taking the percentage that he was going to draw Frost Nova before turn 5 instead.
Yeah, also as well, this Flame Lance, very cheap, but if the game continues to go how it is, it might not come to a Flame Wreath Faceless, right? And that's like mainly you target with this Flame Lance choice. Yes. So Bertik took I'd say a risk, not a massive risk, but a small risk, taking a card that might potentially not have much impact in the game at all.
He honestly didn't have stellar options. From the glyph. It wasn't a great looking glyph. So Flame Lance, like you said, at least in Bertik's mind, it solved a potential problem, right? He was going through his mental checklist. He's like, okay, what can I lose to this game? Ridiculous start that I can't clear. Well, I have a Doomsayer. I might be okay against that. What's next? Well, I don't really have a way to deal with a Flame Wreath Faceless right now. So I think that's where the Flame Lance led him. And as we can see, it's not a Flame Wreath kind of game. It's just a tokeny Shaman kind of game where it's just this wide board state beating down on Bertik, and he has no real way to deal with it right now.
Yeah, this is very, very tough indeed because, you look, oh, Frost Nova. Great. What's that actually going to do? Delay the game one turn. A lot of the time, that's what Freeze Mage is about, but there's no Doomsayer in hand. There's only one left in the deck. And that is just a lot of face damage.
Would you like to know where the place is, Raven?
I'm going to go wild here and say the face, Subtle.
You would be correct, sir.
So much damage, and we've seen this. I feel like saying we've seen this time and time again in this tournament. All 2 hours of it. but you know what I mean? The aggro decks just get there. Nothing but crazy has happened in this game. The Doomsayer clear, I would say, right?
Yep.
But look at the minions. There's no Flame Wreath. There's no Flame Tongue Totem doing like crazy stuff.
Yep.
It's just dudes getting them, and then suddenly you open up the kind of worms that is Crackle, a Lightning Bolt, a weapon, and then the block can just get procced next turn anyway. If it was even active, just because of the weapon, the Crackle, and the Lightning Bolt, never mind anything else.
Well, I'll go back to it. It's the difference between being able to play a 3-4 on turn 2 and being able to play a 2-3 or a 3-2 on turn 2, right? Like, there is numerous ways that Mage could have dealt with just a regular-sized 2-drop minion in that spot. They could have had Frostbolt. They could have glyphed into something. They could have just left it around, only dealing 2 damage a turn, and then set up a Medivh's Valet play later on. You don't have that luxury when it's a Totem Golem, and it's why it's just such an incredibly snowbally card. It's exactly what you're seeing happen here.
Yeah, and you know what I think from my time playing Mage, whether it was Reno, with the N'Zoth stuff, Freeze Mage, whatever, in Wild, the difference between drawing Mad Scientist and not is probably the most impactful draw I've seen in Wild, if I'm completely honest. Because you can think, oh, well, in Standard we have Arcanologist. That's not as good, and you don't always lose if you draw that. Well, your opponents aren't doing this to you in Standard either, so the Mad Scientist is often huge in these matchups.
25% lethal off the Crackle here. We can see it's Ice Barrier. MeknugetZz doesn't know that. So MeknugetZz is actually in a very strange position where he can take a guaranteed proc on Ice Block if it were Ice Block by using Jade Lightning instead, whereas Crackle has that low roll potential that could end up not popping the block this turn if he gets a 3. But Crackle is the only card that gives him a chance to win the turn this game. Win the game this turn if it is Ice Barrier. So actually, I like this plan.
I do like this plan.
Nope.
Only 4. Crackle is a fickle mistress. But I think as well, what sort of led me to want to see that play also was the fact that the board was frozen, right? You ain't hitting through an Ice Barrier anyway a lot of the time. He is attacking now just because he's just getting the damage in. He has a lot of damage in hand. But you're not getting through the barrier because your minions are frozen. You may as well try and proc the block. There's a Doomsayer, though, but...
Bertik's deck is being rather cruel to him right now. He went for the early tempo Doomsayer because he didn't yet have a Frost Nova in hand. He didn't want to just run the percentages of drawing that before turn 5. Then immediately on the turn after, he's forced to use the Frost Nova to protect his life total. He draws the second Doomsayer.
Yeah, I actually think this has to be Glyph into a Dream into a Doomsayer. I think he has to Glyph. Does he survive any other way? Yeah, I think he has to, right?
Well, yeah, even with the Barrier Doomsayer play, which is looking like kind of the bailout, you have enough mana to Glyph anyway. Sure, you could Medivh's Valet instead in that world, but...
Does it change that much?
Right.
Like, that's the worry, right?
Yeah, and this is just, going back to the thing that we talked about in our little analysis segment that we did, I think, during the first series, is you actually have, if you count every single card that deals damage to more than 1 minion, then you actually have above a 50% chance of getting AoE off Primordial Glyph in Standard. But when you dilute that pool in Wild, Primordial Glyph actually becomes a little bit weaker because you can't...
Duplicate.
you can't hit those cards that you need in. Yes, that is a card that's in Wild.
I say it's one that like weakens the thing, right?
Right, but I mean, yeah, any spell that has rotated out weakens Primordial Glyph, and that lowers your consistency of hitting the options that you need to hit.
Okay, well, Nugget's just gonna go for the kill. Not too much of a surprise. Checking the secret. It's going to be a total of 18 health to get through, but there's a Crackle, a Lightning Bolt, and a Jade Lightning. He cannot cast all of them, though, due to Overload, but I don't think he's going to need all of them.
Down to 8, so he needs a 4 on Crackle. 75% of the time, MeknugetZz takes it down.
Got him.
There
wow,
it is.
4 twice from Crackle in one game,
yep.
And it was still enough. When you combine it with Jade Lightning, MeknugetZz takes the first game there with the Shaman versus the Mage, and I do feel like Bertik just had like one unfortunate situation after another there.
Yeah, so the Doomsayer coming down early could have been answered in a variety of ways, but it got answered in a way that actually developed a huge amount of board presence at the same time as well. He didn't get Frostbolts early, he didn't get Mad Scientist early, as you were talking about. His draws of the Doomsayer and the Frost Novas just did not line up against each other in any way at all. They were always just one card out of the way of each other, but very impressive performance from the Aggro Shaman deck.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think we can check out the list now and exactly how it lines up. There is the cheeky little Hammer of Twilight there, so still no Doom Hammer, even in Wild.
Yes.
So Hammer of Twilight still helps develop the board and does chunk through a lot of damage. It is 8 damage for 5 mana, so definitely not too shabby. But in general, it's not it doesn't really do the same job as the Evolved Shaman of Standard now. No. Evolved Shaman is kind of an aggro deck as well, but they're just both very different aggro decks.
Right, there is kind of a pure aggro Shaman that does get run in Standard as well, but again, the star of the show and why this is a much more powerful deck in Wild, as every deck is in Wild, is that you still play Tunnel Trog and Totem Golem, and those are
Coin Totem Golem is one of our good friends would say. Or Coin Cobalt.
no, never Coin Kobold.
Okay, well, we are going to be moving on to game number 2, and I know you were giving a nod a little bit to MeknugetZz list when we were looking at them backstage. There is a little cheeky Chasm Mystic in this list, and as you can see, anything can happen. And I was a big fan of Anything Paladin.
I was too.
I absolutely love that deck. And I loved it after the nerf of Old Murkai, basically, going into Wild. Then I played the deck in Wild. I was like, oh my god, I forgot how powerful Old Murkai is. It does so much damage.
There was one season where both you and I were climbing with that Anyfin Secret Paladin as well, right? That deck was a lot of fun, but this is just a pure Anyfin Paladin in Wild with, of course, the addition of Old Murkai. And when you add Old Murkai back into the Anyfin pool, your level of damage output gets absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, there is a lot of draw in this list. Solemn Vigil, 1 Lay on Hands, 1 Loot Hoarder as well. So there is plenty of stuff to help draw through the deck. An Acolyte of Pain, of course, as well, that we see in the hand. So, you know, MeknugetZz can often get that. I feel like that was what was played around with the most in different iterations of Murloc Paladin, was how much draw you actually run.
Look at that. We talked about it at the start, like the kind of the mental advantage that MeknugetZz has in this series. Bertik admitted to me that he was nervous. Within the earshot of MeknugetZz as well, it's worth pointing out.
Yeah.
You just saw there, MeknugetZz start the game, throw out an emo, and then very deliberately just raise his eyes to look across the desk at his opponent to see if there was any reactions.
Yeah, and to be fair, the 2 players here were actually sat backstage with us, and they were just chatting about the game, you know, just discussing things.
They were talking about their lineups and stuff with each other as well, and I was like, guys, like, nothing good can come of this.
It's something I like to see, though. You know, the environment, even though, you know, this is single elimination tournament, the players have worked so hard to even get to this point. All the 8 players have done an amazing job so far. But in single elim, you can just get knocked out with 1 match. But, you know, meeting people, making friends, having fun, that's what Hearthstone's really about. Unless you settle.
Then it's just about crushing the spirits of your vanquished opponents.
That's why we work so well.
It is.
My spirit will never be crushed.
Your spirit was crushed a long time ago.
You cannot crush what has already been crushed.
Ah,
there you go.
So already with this hand, I see a little bit of potential. The Wild Pyromancer Coin Solemn Vigil combination is actually quite powerful, particularly against token decks. Because quite often, if you can get to, say, turn 4 or so, go Wild Pyromancer Coin, kill a couple of minions just with the coin activation, and then you get a discounted Solemn Vigil, which then sweeps out the rest of the board. It's actually a real powerful way that you can kind of cheat the Pyro Equality Solemn Vigil after interaction. So that's actually potentially a way MeknugetZz can fight back onto this board, but it would mean not committing anything to this board state right now, right? He wouldn't be able to coin because that's part of the combination, so he couldn't coin Acolyte, and he wouldn't be able to develop a board presence that contests, which is what he's chosen to go with here instead with the Wild Pyromancer. And now Vicious Fledgling coming down. This line of play is actually going to work out very well for MeknugetZz because he can now just go coin True Silver, and there's really no aggression coming back from Bertik in this spot.
Yeah, when you actually get to coin True Silver, even in like the standard version of this matchup, you are feeling pretty great, especially when the board is as small as it is now, because that True Silver not only deals with the old pink Flappy Bird, but also can deal with something else next turn, which is the important. Just cashing in on that tempo for next turn is absolutely huge here.
And we've talked a lot. It's one of my favorite talking points because of all the avenues of conversation about evaluating Hearthstone as a whole that it brings up. But we talked a lot at Seat Story Cup and at HCT and these other events that we've been attending recently about the True Silver champion versus Rallying Blade dilemma, right? The standard meta right now is a 3 health meta. There's so many minions with 3 health, so we start seeing people play Rallying Blade just to operate a turn faster. You come back into Wild, suddenly you're back in Totem Golem meta, right? So you need True Silver Champion to be able to take down these early board states. And in this position, does cost him his coin to be able to take care of the Vicious Fledgling. But I think the duality of those two weapons is one of the most one of the situations with the most clarity, where you really see deck building decisions like evolving over time, just small tweaks in individual lists.
Plus muster for battle.
That too.
But yeah, obviously you're not going to run muster in a lot of Paladin decks, especially the control ones. We're going to see the Savage Roar though go down. Easy clear up on the Acolyte, but again, there's just not tons of damage available. Consecrate. Now they can even be a full board clear. Oh no, they can't.
It's a free Solemn Vigil though.
Yeah, I was thinking it could play the Murloc as well, and then like Murloc weapon consecrate. But still, like you can actually clear a lot of this board up there. Not all of it, but a lot.
Yeah, the problem is that card in hand right now, if you're in MeknugetZz spot, that card is probably earmarked as a fairly dead draw, being that it was just a Savage Roar turn from the opponent on the previous turn. So maybe that's an indicator that you can use the Consecration, right? Because perhaps Living Mana would have just been played there instead. And Consecration is just a card that you do want to hold back for Living Mana in most spots. And just the power of this Consecration being able to activate the 0 mana Solemn Vigil,
it's huge.
It's just such a huge turn for you, right?
Yeah, one of the most important things in this deck is the cycle. You know, there was a lot of games early on with Murloc Paladin where they just run dry and just couldn't even get there. Couldn't either get the Murlocs out, couldn't get joined to the Anythins, but there he is, old Murkai himself. Oh my god. Look, the first one's alright. And then when you draw, like, you know, when you used to like summon 2, because it used to be off your opponent. Oh no, it still is, right? Is anything off both? Any Murlocs that have died?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It was just because the Murlocs buffing each other got changed.
Yes,
but
the War Leader interaction.
Yeah. But anything is actually just all Murlocs, so I remember the good old mirrors of this deck, which were truly ridiculous. Lothep's actually not terrible. Oh, okay. I mean, second Consecrate's fantastic here. Do you just like old Murkai, though? Just kill off the 3/2 hero power?
I really don't mind it.
I mean, there's only 2 1/1s on the board and you're on 18. Like, how scared are you really? And then you can go Lothep next turn to lock out even more options.
Yeah, I think this play is fine too, though, because this board state isn't really oppressive enough to be an issue for you right now. It would need, like, a Mark of the Lotus, a Savage Roar, that kind of thing to really be representing a huge board state against you. So I definitely don't mind the Lothep play just to kind of consolidate something first. Like, you're playing a slower minion first, then you play the Murkai afterwards. So over the course of 2 turns, by playing the minion without charge first,
yeah, it's more value.
You gain more. Well, it's more tempo over the course of 2 turns to play the non-charge minion first. You're gonna trade a Bluegill here and play the Loot Hoarder instead of committing the Murkai?
I mean, you have anything in hand as well. Like, why not?
No. I'm fine with it.
Not that anything's directly your win condition in this matchup.
The only reason, actually, I mean, I kind of like I understand the theory behind this play, right? Like, it does the same thing. It kills 1/1/1. And in MeknugetZz' mind, he's developing an extra card draw this way and holding back the Murkai in his hand. From my perspective, I want to load up the maximum board presence this turn because next turn I just want to lay on hands my face and then clear the entire board,
sure,
right?
Sure.
So I'd quite like to have that Murkai still on board, being able to punch away again.
Yeah, and Sir Finley really noticed the difference of that card going into Wild, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, that is... I mean, just look, Hunter Hero Power as an aggro deck. Okay, like, sign me up for that one. And sign Bertik up as well, because that's what he's going to be going for. Suddenly, you know, his board is still... He's not in a good spot. But he's got a lot of health. And he has Savage Roar and Hunter Hero Power. He just needs, you know, Living Mana, just anything to get a couple of minions to stick. Obviously, we can see it as Lay on Hands, but although Lay on Hands is healing for 8, that's your whole turn next turn. You draw some cards, heal for 8, and pass.
He still has patches, right? Does Bertik?
Yes. I don't think we've seen a pirate.
About to find out. Yep. There he is.
Okay,
So
this is the turn you go then.
Yeah, and this is kind of the difference between... Okay, well, the patches isn't trading in this spot, so it's actually not the difference, but still.
Good work, Sol.
If the 1-1 had been able to trade into the 2-1, that would be the difference between playing the Loot Hoarder or playing the Murkai on the previous turn, right? Because they both develop 2 power when there's no other Murlocs, but with patches still in the deck, that could have been a way that the opponent swung a board presence back, and you wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable enough to be able to lay on hands yourself.
I was really surprised then. For a second, it like MeknugetZz was waiting before he lay on hands. It's like, no, Mek, you're dead. Like, you see that Hunter Hero Power? If you don't lay on hands exactly this turn, you are dead.
Right. And that is both Savage Roars that have already been pushed. So Bertik's potential for damage from hand is actually very, very limited. There's no swipe in Wild Aggro Druid almost ever.
Second Living Roots.
He's used 1 this game? Yeah, there's a second Living Roots in there. So he does have a little bit of damage from hand. But now Burn Bristle even can just put a huge clock on this, because if he just Burn Bristles here, there's no one draw that is able to commit lethal through the Burn Bristle. If a Living Roots gets drawn, you probably have to use it to kill the Burn Bristle in this position. So suddenly, that Burn Bristle now just has a massive chance of just sticking around turn after turn and basically just negating the Hunter Hero Power.
Yeah, it's absolute nightmare here for Bertik, especially because those War Leaders now, combined with the Loatheb, means that, well, that's just a lot of damage. You play the old Murkai and you're just probably going to get there.
That face attack, by the way, was extremely smart, because he has 1 Bluegill Warrior inside his Anything Can Happen, which will be 6 additional damage on this board. 5, 10, 15 from the 3/5s, 18, 20 from the remainder, 1 Bluegill for 6 more. He set himself up lethal, recognized when he'd actually got himself in a spot where he is now the aggro deck, and he's going to set up lethal for himself with that Anything on the following turn. Really, really precise play from MeknugetZz.
Yeah, that was really spot on.
You can just do it with Murkai as well, I guess.
Yeah, Murkai does the same thing with the War Leaders.
It's far less fancy, though.
You do like fancy stuff, don't you, Sol?
I do.
That's why you like me so much. But old Murkai, you know, he's going to get there.
Oh.
Yeah, get him, Mek.
Come on.
Okay, and it looks like MeknugetZz going to be going 2-0 for Bertik. We've seen overall today just a very, very quick matches.
Yeah.
But also quick play.
Yep.
There's not been a lot of, you know, rope in, which is fine. But just the players seem very sure of the decks they've been playing, and I think a part of it might be down to, you know, some inexperience among the players. You know, they just want to just play maybe a bit of nerves on stage.
Sure.
But I also think a part of it is to...
Sorry, that just looks like the most awkward position to type in possible. Like reach.
I'd love it. I'd love it if it was just open message, GG, enter, done. Just because the motion looked great. But yeah, also these players have had to grind a lot to get to this point.
Right.
In this deck, so they will be very comfortable. We can see the difference between. Very big difference between standard Paladin, Murloc Paladin at the moment.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I was like,
Murloc Paladin in Wild.
Apart from the yellow gentleman at the top, what exactly is the connection between these two decks? But yeah, I guess they are both essentially Murloc Paladin, but as different as chalk and cheese in this scenario, because one of them is just a snowballing mid-range deck that tries to get a board presence and then push damage repeatedly. The other one is a control deck with essentially a 1 or 2 turn kill win condition at the end.
Yeah, it's different as Raven and Subtle. I like
chalk and cheese, like I said.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty similar. Which doesn't make sense.
And as always, you're the cheesy one.
I love cheese, so it's fine.
Nice.
Do you not like cheese?
I do love cheese. Yeah.
Well, there you go. You love me. You just admitted it.
Outplayed.
Yeah, there you go. I played the long game. I've been working on that for a while. We are going to be moving on to the next game, though. MeknugetZz 2-0 up. versus Bertik. This is single elimination. So if Bertik loses, he is out. He'll be going home. Not right now. I think he can stay another day. But then we'll be sending him home. And MeknugetZz on the good old Pirate Warrior.
No, he goes home right now. He
Okay.
gets back to the hotel. They've changed the room key. His key doesn't work anymore.
No luggage.
They've got no record of his check-in ever happening. Tries to board the plane. His plane ticket's been cancelled. He just has to walk back home.
It's a long walk.
Bit of swimming involved as well, probably.
I'd struggle. I can't swim, so
It's true. You can't.
I just like get off the beach and then just that's it. I'm done.
Can we get some lols in chat for the fact that Raven can't swim? Like a child.
Don't need to swim when you can fly.
Wait, you can fly?
Raven. Yeah.
I see.
I flew here, right? So
South Sea deckhand on 1. It does give your opponent the ability to just go coin ping into ping, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but with MeknugetZz hand, it actually would be kind of detrimental to him, right? Because he'd go deckhand on 1, and if Bertik decides to go coin ping, then MeknugetZz turn 2 right now is just to equip War Axe, which
that's
you
a
know,
bit like
you don't punish your opponent for going coin ping into ping, but you can also just put a bit of fear equity in your opponent's mind where coin ping into ping just wouldn't feel like a very good play. But Bertik here with the double Doomsayer start is looking like he's got a much more promising draw this time around than on the previous. And I think that's why MeknugetZz goes ahead and does this, because now he can actually keep going through coin Doomsayer in this position with the Heroic Strike, which would be the only card in his hand that could do that from Bertik's position.
Yeah, I think the coin ping thing was mainly the punish, so to speak, is them using the coin, right?
Yep.
And Bertik, just gonna chill. It's just like, okay, coin ping.
I like it.
I'm okay with this. You'd hit me for another 1, maybe 2. More if you swing the War Axe, but it's not too likely, especially with no upgrade weapons. So yeah, I actually like this. Shows some good restraint from Bertik for me.
It does, and like I talked about it, just setting this up preemptively, but just look at how badly that's torn apart MeknugetZ's entire hand. Now his 3-mana play is a Bloodsail Cultist that doesn't do anything, or just a raw Dread Corsair hitting the board, which until you drew still after drawing the N'Zoth's first mate, you kind of want that cheap pirate to get an extra swing out of your Fiery War Axe on a following turn with the Bloodsail Cultist. So yeah, when you kind of just push through process of elimination, MeknugetZz just has to giddy up and start pushing damage.
All right, admirable. He says giddy up a lot.
Does he?
Yeah. He's a cowboy, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah.
I'm just going to contrarily question everything he's saying.
Saul's good at the game.
Is he?
No. Yeah, he's an admirable admiral cowboy. It's got on the titles.
You've just melded all kinds of worlds together there.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure cowboys never rise to the rank of admiral.
No, but an admirable can rise to the rank of a cowboy.
Ah! Damn, outplayed again.
So now Bertik has just, had a reasonable start, but has just got to very, very carefully plan out the next couple of turns, because the next couple of turns is where you could just win or lose here. Already that Heroic Strike gives it a good amount of information to Bertik, I'd say, as to what this hand looks like, especially because the Doomsayer wasn't played. If it was Heroic Strike with a Doomsayer on board, you're like, well, his hand could be almost anything, he just didn't want to play minions. But now, Bertik has to just consider how much damage he's actually willing to take before he starts putting a stop to this pirate shenanigans. Wow, that's good.
That is really good.
Build your own Arcanite Reaper and then some with an extra durability.
Build your own Ashbringer, right?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
With the start that MeknugetZz had, with how slow his opener was against the coin ping ping play from Bertik, he really needed Infinite War Axe this game, and that's pretty much what he's lining up here.
Yeah, if he ever got to equip or play that N'Zoth's first mate, he was in a bad spot, right? Because yes, my 1/3 weapon. Let's go. Frostbolt now. Bertik, as I said, has to start doing something. And what this is going to do, this Frostbolt Doomsayer, is for him at least going to either soak up damage if the clear happens, or if it doesn't, it will clear the board. If it soaks up damage, then Nova Doomsayer, you've got to be at least reasonably confident that that one lives.
Yeah, this is almost a trap from Bertik, where he's saying, by all means, send damage into this Doomsayer, build up a board, and then I'm just going to Frost Nova Doomsayer you the next turn, and I've essentially bought myself 2 turns. The punish for that would be MeknugetZz just going face and ignoring this Doomsayer and letting his 3-4 die, and then the Frostnova Doomsayer planned turn from Bertik wouldn't play out that way. But that's never really a world that I think you live in. All right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is.
MeknugetZz just a god.
Maybe MeknugetZz just has the greatest reads of any Hearthstone player I've ever seen.
Maybe, and this is a big punish as well because now, I mean...
What do you do? Just Arcane Intellect and hope.
Doomsayer?
Yeah.
You know, like, I think you have to, right? The problem is just this weapon. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, you're taking 5. You'll be down to 8 next turn. Glyph, okay. Oh, Lance as well. Do you Lance this turn? No, you don't. You Glyph, right? I think you Glyph, and then you can set up Nova Doomsayer Ice Lance next turn. To Ice Lance face.
I can see that.
I mean,
definitely see that.
Yeah, if the swing happens, no weapon equipped, I think you still Ice Lance face, because if you draw a weapon, you're still in trouble.
Yes. I think, yeah, Bertik is just considering 6 mana, 8 damage, whether it's possible from MeknugetZz' hand, and I'm not entirely sure it is. Oh, Leroy plus South Sea Deckhand would have been lethal, right? That's about the only way I can think of.
There's a Heroic Strike gone as well.
Yes.
So some damage you've got to take away there. MeknugetZz playing the Control Warrior game, armoring up to get out of that sick Mage Burst. Huh.
Oh, boy.
Emp, go.
Temporal Thurasan.
Nice. It's a stretch, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I was reaching that hard.
I think it's the way you said it. It's your dodgy southern accent.
My correct English accent.
Let's go do an impression of you then, Tempera Thorison, as Salt likes to call him, on 6. And this is a good play. This is a winning, play. Like, what else are you going to do? Just Ice Lance face and hope. Like, this, you kind of just have to put this out there. And again, is Bertik even running Mad Scientists?
Yes. Yes, he is. He's not running Arcanologist. If you're not familiar with the Freeze Mage list, Arcanologist is just considered superfluous to requirements. Like, in some decks, you would like to play 4 copies of a card, right? Like 2 copies of a card and then 2 bad alternatives of that card. Like, you would consider that good enough. Freeze Mage is just such a tight list when you are allowed to play Ice Lances and Evolve Kobold and all that kind of stuff that Arcanologist just doesn't make the cut in a lot of positions.
Yeah, and also, it's not just getting the secrets live, it's improving the draws of your deck, which is insanely important. And Bertik's just not got there in 2 of his Mage games now.
MeknugetZz has various considerations here about whether he wants to push damage now, in which case he'd miss out of the captain buff. He's also considering drawing ship's cannon implications because that can count as burst damage as well.
I think you wait.
And yeah, I like this decision to hold on here for sure.
Well, there's a barrier. But if there's Mad Scientist, that barrier could be a different card. Alex Straza maybe. And then you can try and hold out self Alex, and then you do kind of win the game off the back of that a lot of the time.
Right, and if that was Alex Straza, you'd be doing it next turn as well because of the Emperor tick that it would pick up here.
Ooh,
yep,
Glyph.
What's the far left? Frostnova again, jeez.
Do you just...
I have been very unimpressed by the quality of Primordial Glyphs this tournament.
Same. Do you just blast? You don't need another Frost Nova. Your other 2 Novas are better. You've got what will be 4 mana Blizzards.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need Nova. Oh, wow, okay, maybe you do. Huh. Oh. So he wants a Nova barrier. Could have done that anyway, though, right?
Now he gets to ping as well. I guess he just sees 0 value in an Arcane Blast.
Well, I just want to Arcane Blast the Pirate because the Corsair can... The second...
Well, now you can ping the Pirate instead, right?
Sure.
If your plan was to Arcane Blast the Pirate, this is strictly better because you also freeze a 1/3 at the same time.
Could have done this as well. Still frozen the board.
Oh, you one of the other Frost.
Yeah, well, I mean, why not, right?
So it's the same thing.
Yeah,
We're just arguing semantics. At this
well, you get to ping face.
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to get knowledge of this ice barrier. So that's kind of good news. It's maybe indifferent.
I think you'd rather it was block.
Yeah, because you can actually pop it.
Yeah, and then you have Mage Hero Power just to threaten to kill for the rest of the game, and you wouldn't even have to deal with an Ice Barrier if it was played after that point. Ice Barrier was by far the worst secret.
Yeah, because the ping. Yeah. If it was that or Hunt Hero Power, it'd definitely be worse.
Right.
Okay, he's just going to go, just drop everything down now and just say, right, let's go. And there is now 2 damage guaranteed unless there's an Ice Lance on face of MeknugetZz. He's got at least 1 ping, so in 6 turns, this game can end.
And having now played all of those pirates from hand, MeknugetZz is guaranteed a ship's cannon draw next turn. I've played this game before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Nice. With this hand, it's very hard to work out how to progress.
I know.
Right?
What is this hand?
Yeah, well, the thing is, you can not die. Great.
Sweet.
Yeah, but it's like, how do you actually progress? I mean, Emperor is just whacking him in the face, to be fair. So maybe you do just like Nova or Blizzard. What Bertik will want? If Bertik draws a Frostbolt, he could be close to in business here.
If Bertik doesn't ping the 4-1 here, then MeknugetZz can draw Spellbreaker as well.
That's true.
Pinging the 4-1 only takes 1 potential damage off the board if you're playing around the Spellbreaker out. You could also just freeze the face as well, and then the Spellbreaker draw isn't lethal in that position anyway. But you do
I
definitely
like the
have
Ice
to
Lances
consider
for
that.
damage, though.
I do too.
Because, Frostbolt being drawn, that is actually just 12
Yeah,
damage.
just
Just 5
Blizzard
damage
again.
from the Emperor. This is fine. You've got 2 Frost Novas to do the same job. And Ice Lance face.
Leroy!
Yeah, I mean, why Ice Lance face? I mean, that's okay. I mean, that's the reason. Well, but you know what I mean? There was like that card, right?
Trying to think.
I think there was only that. Like, upgrade you don't care about. Oh no, 1 and 2. You know?
Right.
But that Despite is like the only card to warrant Ice Lance in face. Tempo Kobold, I love it. Oh, get him, Kobold. 2 to face.
He's just killing him with an Emperor Thorocyan-shaped beat stick right now. That's a dead draw.
Ooh, oh my god, is Bertik actually going to take this game?
Well, he's still not in it yet. I don't even like playing this Frothing Berserker necessarily because you allow you now allow Bertik to draw a card without committing mana, which means Alexstrasza can be the second to next card in the deck.
Yeah.
And Bertik can actually play it here off the top, which would be game losing. I think this Frothing is just always a mistake in this position.
Here we go.
Here you go.
This is Alex.
This is Alex. It's a huge punish.
Close. Oh, nice to turn up, Mad Scientist. Only took you all day.
This game. No, he has to play Mad Scientist and then Volcanic Potion his own Mad Scientist.
Yeah, to get block.
Yeah.
I'll show them. I'll show them all.
So he does lose the Kobold, though, and that's just no fun.
You do it, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty easy read because your opponent drew a card and didn't play it on a turn that you froze their
I wonder
face,
what card that
right?
could be.
Yeah, exactly.
Heroic Strike, which is the same thing.
Yeah. And then with the secret, he pings off the Medivh's Valet for the extra damage. So now he'll be 1 damage off lethal himself on the following turn. MeknugetZz thinks that he is dead here in this position. He sees those cards being held in hand for such a long time. A single fireball kills him. But it's going to need to be a draw from Bertik to get him through, and MeknugetZz can now ping away the Emperor as well to reduce Bertik's out significantly.
Yeah, it's going to be Bertik's tournament life on this draw, and this is going to be absolutely huge. Ooh, okay, Glyph.
Fireball.
Still Fireball. Okay. Glyph, this is everything. Oh, Fireball. There we go. Got him. So it's going to be Fireball hit, ping, and Bertik just about manages to fight back here and take this win and hang on in this match. Wow, that's close.
Right down to the wire,
Yeah.
and you've got to think as well, Bertik had a double Doomsayer start, right? So normally when you get both Doomsayers early and they're not cleared out by an early Heroic Strike, those are normally the games you're set up to win as Freeze Mage. The problem was his mid-game was so terrible. Just Blizzard, Nova, Glyph into another Nova, Emperor to hand that was so bad it didn't matter when the whole hand cost 0. It just still wasn't doing anything. No Alexstrasza, no burn win condition. That desperate Volcanic Potion on his own Mad Scientist at the end, though, was the game-winning play.
Yeah, and MeknugetZz as well actually just didn't draw ship's cannon.
No.
Like, and you just think, look, it got into 1. He would have propped the block. He was pretty much dead a couple of turns in a row, almost. You think a couple of attacks from ship's cannon. game. You know, like, that's how powerful that card is, even if it doesn't snowball. Just extra 2 and 2 and 2 points of damage.
Right.
Just change the game, because as Pirate Warrior, you do so much damage that extra one step is normally the one extra bit that your opponent has as some kind of leeway.
Yeah, and it did really come right the way down to the wire, and there was a couple of decisions from both sides as well in terms of sequencing that could have changed the outcome. Because even though Alexstrasza wasn't the card that came out, the potential ping on the Acolyte is still a ping that didn't go somewhere else, right? If you're forcing them to ping, so that could have changed the equation as well.
Yeah, and to break down a little bit more of that game and maybe this match overall, it's going to be Frona and Kibler over in the analyst camp.
Thank you very much, Raven and Soddle. One of the plays that really stuck out to us in the previous game was kind of the closing moments of that match where we saw Bertik just be able to narrowly survive picking up that Mad Scientist combination.
Yeah, this is a play that we haven't seen in a while, because Mad Scientist has been rotated away from standard format into wild, but the sort of ability to kill your own Mad Scientist comes up quite a bit. We can roll this clip here. You know, he picks up the Mad Scientist, and he knows that there's going to be a card in MeknugetZz' hand that can kill him here. So it may seem like a crazy use of resources to Volcanic Potion away his entire own board, putting his Emperor down to the threat of being killed by his opponent's hero power, but he's guaranteed the Ice Block here, which guarantees him an extra turn, which was just enough to get him the victory.
Right, and it's important to also understand your outs in that position. That's something that we regularly talk about, especially in these winding down moments of the game. Bertik had the option to also hero power his Acolyte before drawing onto the Frothing Berserker by trading in order to set it up for Alexstrasza. So he layered his outs, adapted to the situation, was rewarded with finally drawing the Primordial Glyph, and now is still fighting for the series. Back over to you, Raven.
Thanks a lot, Frodan. Very, very close game indeed, that one. That was awesome.
Yeah, and I just caught watching the replay as well there that the lethal was only set up because he spent the last 2 mana of his turn Medivh valeting the face, which then set up what we saw was exact fireball lethal in the end. Whereas again, as Frodan and I both mentioned, if you're forced to ping your Acolyte because there's no minion on the board to draw a card, that 2 mana isn't getting spent on valeting the face. So something as simple as just playing a Frothing Berserker. Oh, I drew this card, I'll play it. Yeah. Something as simple as that can actually have changed the outcome of not just that game, but this entire series now.
Yeah, again, a lot of Hearthstone, especially, when we're talking about Pirate Warrior, right? A lot of it looks, it's just very simple. You just play stuff and get them. A lot of the time, it's not that simple, especially in Wild when there's a few more power plays to think about.
Yeah.
It does get a little bit more tricky than you'd expect, but we are moving on into the next game. Bertik fighting for his life, Druid versus Warrior.
Now, I think you and I actually disagree on this matchup. Who wins this matchup? In a word, one word.
Warrior.
Druid.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I understand because I actually spoke to you about it, and you gave me an argument that actually wasn't the way people on ladder were playing against me. Where
because people on ladder are generally not that great.
Agree, but neither are you. So to balance this out, normally what you said to me is that the warrior just gets a weapon, and then you use weapons to clear every single minion that gets played, right? And then eventually you just out-resource them. I still find if you're playing Bloodsail Corsair and Galactic Crawler in your Druid, that it's actually a fairly comfortable matchup. But I've actually spoken to quite a few high-level players who played Wild as well that agree with you.
Yeah, I think that all the games I've either won or lost, depending on which side I was on, it was always Pirate Warrior. It uses weapon and minions as well, because generally their minions are just base stronger than the Druid minions.
Right.
You just trade. Well, you know what? Without a board, you don't get anywhere. And Pirate Warrior, even in Wild, still kind of plays like Zoo.
Yep.
So you just zoo them, you get a board and they don't. But let's see how these players are going to approach it, because again, it is a different play style, something that isn't usual in terms of a standard. So MeknugetZz going to go for it. He's just going to go a little bit heavy here, and I don't mean heavy in a bad way. He can clear off this Finley with a coin upgrade, and this...
Can he now?
Yeah. Is he not going to?
Whoa, you trade. Okay.
No, you go. You trade.
You trade. I mean, he's considering face attack because he thinks there's no punish. But first off, there's Priest Hero Power. Secondly, there's Mark of Yasharaj. I don't know if Bertik is playing Mark of the Wild as well. I'll just check. He isn't. Okay, so there's only Mark of Yasharaj.
What?
That is so greedy.
He wants the hero power to be used instead of minion development, but the hero power kind of is minion development.
I'm gobsmacked. I remember a play in APAC where Gundam Flame did that exact same thing, right? He pushed 1 damage against a 1-1 in a situation where 90% of people would have traded, but the difference was that situation didn't have punishes. This situation has
Baffles me.
guaranteed punish with the hero power. Whether you consider that a punish or not is up for debate, right? You can write that one off and say, I'm fine if he hero powers. But Mark of the Lotus, Mark of Yasharaj, like, there's so many ways that you get hurt for making that play.
I don't know. All I'm saying is I think as Pirate Warrior, you should remove all minions as often as you can. Think about the board state if that Finley wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, like, it would be so much better. Now Bertik can actually save this Golaka Crawler. I just like Mark of Yasharaj here.
Yep, I'm down. That's only a 2-2 weapon right now, right?
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, 4-3 him in the face.
Yeah, I like it. You definitely don't want to crawler your own patches.
No, against Spiral Warrior.
Well, the thing is, the idea is that like the Golaka's big enough to deal with any pirates that are played anyway.
No.
But no, yeah, I agree. I'm just saying that. Look,
Some arguments are so bad you don't even have to play devil's advocate with yourself, Raven. That was a dumb idea. You should have just written it off immediately.
You're a dumb idea.
I agree.
Okay. Although Bertek's taking his time over exactly what he wants to do. I do like Mark of Yasharaj, though. Oh my god, he's actually going to Golaka.
No, he's just going to heal it, right?
Oh, okay. I was like...
What?
No! God, I'm so good at just making all the calls. No! I'm so bad at making all the calls.
What is happening this series?
The pressure's getting to them.
Do you want to whisper that a bit louder?
Oh, it was a 3-weapon.
Oh, it's 3-1. Okay,
that changes things.
Yeah,
That
it's fine.
Okay, well, still a good follow-up. Bloodsail Raider now. This is what I mean. Like, yeah, the Golaka comes down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think you just Death Spite and kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you're like, yeah, it sucks to just waste the durability on the weapon.
Bertik's going to mark this this Golaka, right?
Yeah, okay, that's true.
Yeah.
But in general, you'd like, you do bad plays, so to speak, or like worse plays to just keep the ball clean.
Going back to this idea of just weapons killing every minion that gets played, the fact that we missed this was a 3-attack weapon, that's why the Mark of Yasharaj didn't get played in the previous turn. But there's still, in my mind, zero justification to ever even consider Golaka crawlering that own 2-1.
I like to consider all the options, Sol.
Right.
Even if they're bad ones. Ooh. Okay. So you could look at Jeeves, not this turn particularly, but in general, in this matchup as, oh, well, it's great for the Pirate Warrior. You know, like, they draw cards as well. Awesome. Yes, but the Druid gets to use all their cards first.
Yep.
And then you're always, not a turn behind, but almost like half a turn behind.
Yep.
So, you know, this is why Jeeves is so strong, and I'm glad he's not in standard, because it would prove just nightmares for everyone. And now, if he does play it this turn, it means that MeknugetZz has, well, I kill a 1-attack minion, but it's worth more because it's giving the Druid cards.
Mm-hmm.
Or I try and deal with this Golaka Crawler. There is no Whirlwind effect because the Death Spite's still on swing 1.
The Warak's in hand, though, right?
There is a... Okay, yeah, he could be really fancy and use the War Axe combined with the deckhand as well, and then that can clear everything up. But I don't know if that's too fancy, Sol. That's a lot of value going out of the way.
You're going to leave a bunch of 1-1s lying around on the board, though, when you've only seen 1 buff card, you've seen 0 Savage Roars. Like, I feel like it just has to be done in this position, even. Because otherwise, you're attacking the 5/6 and deckhanding into that to try and get some semblance of ball control back, and then you end up playing Bloodsail Cultist, which gets you just 1 turn further away from that Whirlwind effect going off if you use it to upgrade. I think you do it.
Yeah, I think you have to, actually. Knowing that your opponent's drawing cards as well is like, well, this board's only going to get worse. And it's going to get worse really quickly as well. Oh, it's going to upgrade. Huh. I don't know if this is like tunnel visioning too much. You know, just saying like, this is almost always the right play, so I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? In a lot of instances, it feels like making a massive weapon is good.
Yeah,
but
I mean, this is MeknugetZz saying that he doesn't want to play around buffs in this situation. He's saying there's only 3 damage on board. I can fight back with the board presence of my weapon right now. And if there's no buffs and damage coming through, then I can perhaps grip back. But we see plenty of buffs. 12 damage going through, and Living Roots can finish it off, although he has the face attack as well to do the job. And that is going to be a squared up series. And after so much Pirate Warrior dominance the whole day so far, it's actually the Pirate Warrior that's the stumbling block for MeknugetZz.
Yeah, I think I think for that game though, there were definitely moments there where things could have gone very, very differently in terms of the matchup. And, you know, we were talking about how Pirate Warrior and Druid works in general in that specific matchup. And although we have different opinions, I think that Finley was just huge.
Yeah, the presence of a 1-3 on turn 1 against the potential, one-mana muster for battle that Pirate Warrior can come out with, the Zoss First Mate with patches, having a 1-3 on the board is a very big deal. But I feel like MeknugetZz had exactly the answer that he needed, was Nazos First Mate an upgrade to kill the 1-3, and then he just decided not to. I'm looking forward to this. Send it over there right now.
Go.
We work on my time, Raven, so when we go, we go. I say go. Brian, let's go ahead and talk about that turn. I think we have it prepared for you guys on screen. For those of you who missed the very beginning of the game, there's an instance where you're able to kill a Sir Finley. The Sir Finley was at 1 health as well, so 1-1. And instead of attacking and trading, you choose to go for face. What is MeknugetZz thinking this position?
Honestly, I don't know, because this play makes so little sense to me for so many different reasons. You know, as they said in the desk, there's the threat of just the hero power, preserving the 1-3 against your relatively low impact minions here overall. There's the obvious huge punish there, which was the Corsair into Mark of the Lotus, which really just snowballed that game completely out of control. I think just that one trade different at the very beginning of the game may have turned that game completely around.
Yeah, because you can see that the Pirate Warrior is not able to even leverage its weapon anymore to maintain board control, and obviously the Galaka Crawler really shut that out. But assuming the Galaka Crawler wasn't even there, like you said, the hero power gave him the value. The way I see it is maybe MeknugetZz wanted him to hero power, because that would set him up to be able to kill the minion and play the Bloodsail Corsair and try to run with the board. But I still think it's a little bit wishful thinking.
Yeah, trying to make your opponent, basically induce your opponent to make a play when there are potential plays that are so much worse for you, if you enable them to be in that position, can really set you up for failure, and that's really what happened here.
All right, well, the series is tied 2-2. Winner of this will move on. Loser goes home. Back over to you, Raven.
Thanks a lot, guys. And yeah, I just couldn't agree more. We talked about it. Those guys talked about it. I feel like, my method of playing Pirate Warrior against that is just kill everything every single time you can. If you can't, try and set up something that does kill the minions.
Yeah, I'm mad. I'm legit mad. No, one of the reasons I like Gundam Flame so much as a player is that he impresses me so much in finding points of 1 extra damage like that. But the key to that kind of situation is finding spots where there's no punish or an extremely unlikely punish. Yeah. That situation was neither of those things.
Well, that's enough about that game, though, as that is in the past. We live in the present. It's going to be 2-2 in this series. The winner of this one moves on to the next round. The loser goes home. Pirate Warrior again for MeknugetZz. It's going to be the Priest from Bertik.
Yeah, and this is, I think, perhaps the slowest version of Divine Spirit Inner Fire that we have in the tournament. We have, of course, that crazy OTK Priest that we saw in the previous series, which is a much slower deck. But in terms of this Divine Spirit Inner Fire archetype, Bertik kind of has the greediest list. He goes all the way up to Holy Nova and Lyra the Sunshard, whereas there are some lists in this tournament that are stopping at 3. They have Belen's Chosen, right? And that's it. That's the top of the deck.
Yeah, and what I will say is, again, I played a lot of Pirate Warrior in Wild, and, you look at cards like Deathlord, and you think, oh my god, you just lose, versus Pirate Warrior. Like, Pirate Warrior loses even. But it's like, nope, you can actually just get through Deathlords, you can get through Sludge Belchers as long as your hand's okay. So this deck can actually just hack through the biggest of minions, and Deathlord itself can actually, in giving the MeknugetZz like a pirate coming out of it, can actually snowball the game the opposite way you'd imagine it to be. So, interesting how it plays out. Bertik, though, nothing too fancy, although coin into Elemental into Shield feels pretty good against Power.
I disagree. Yeah, I think that seems quite fancy.
Yeah. I was just like, I went from right to left and was like, okay, Valen's chosen. That's not good.
Engage your brain before you open your mouth, Raven.
Never.
Did your parents never teach you this?
I must.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm innocent.
That's just bad parenting.
Wow, of course they told me that. They're fantastic parents. Don't say another bad word about them, Saul. I will come to blows. But no, this is... Didn't go for it, though.
He didn't.
It wasn't fancy enough. See?
No, I think so. The thinking here from Bertik is I think he wants to kind of stagger his threats so he can potentially get the Velen's Chosen to land on the Radiant Elemental on following turns as well. It's a little bit risky because you allow your opponent so much free board development in the meantime. Yeah. And you end up just kind of going for perhaps quite a slow Radiant Elemental kind of turn into a Frothing Berserker or a South Sea Captain from your opponent, where you end up wanting to Shadow Word Pain instead. So I personally would advocate for the coin Radiant Elemental Power Word Shield in that spot, personally.
Yeah, he's gonna go for it now. Can coin into the Visions or the Pain, or a lot of options actually. And now there's a Death Lord on 3 as well. What I will say is, again, just talking roughly about Wild to Standard, is that there are no Potion of Madness in this list, which is just another thing of, well, there are a million cards to choose from, and a lot of them are good. Potion of Madness can single-handedly beat Pirate Warrior a lot of the time. The card is that powerful.
Yeah, the win rate of N'Zoth's First Mate being answered by Potion of Madness on turn 1 is 73%, I think. Like, that's
ludicrous, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's insanely high, but that's a card that's just not even considered good enough to make it into the wild list.
That's where, you know, it's similar to the match we cast earlier, you know, no mulch and Jade Druid.
Right.
You just think it's a given, and it really isn't in Wild. It really isn't. The deck building, I think, is the hardest part of this this format by far.
I agree.
Death Lord is an option now, but I don't think you want to just drop it without a buff. Because, as I said, Pirate Warrior gets there through Death Lord on its own. Definitely needs a buff on it.
Yeah, there's, 6 damage represented already, so Kor'kron Elite would be absolutely backbreaking in this position.
Okay.
Bertik disagrees, though. And
Velen's Chosen lined up very well.
You see the deckhand coming out here as well, alongside the Frothing Berserker.
Told you! Always!
Just about the optimal punish in this position. And yeah, it's just the Death Lord is fantastic when you can coin it out on turn 2, for example, because then the Pirate Warrior's board is often a N'Zoth's First Mate, a South Sea deckhand.
Whip a healing, right?
And, you know, things that die when they trade into the Death Lord. If you wait this long, and then there's South Sea Captains, Bloodsail Cultists, Kor'kron Elites on the board, then they're getting value trades into your Death Lord. Like, it doesn't matter how much health your Taunt has if everything that attacks into it doesn't die.
Yeah.
It's why Mogushan Warden isn't a good card.
Yeah.
Slapping in a fire on that bad boy, though.
Public Defender, though, now that's a card. And that does no damage. That transcends the meta and says, actually, instead of making bad trades, I'm just going to make the trades so bad. It's like they're going to be good. I guess cheaper, though. But yeah, now I imagine if this was the other way around, a Velen's Chosen on the Light Warden, which is a kill target, because even as Pirate Warrior, you can't just leave a Light Warden on the board that's that big. And then Death Lord Power Word Shield comes down.
Maybe you could have still ignored it.
Well, yeah, then the Frothing's 2/4. Sick. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, well, okay.
Right. And then you heal face, you have a value trade into anything you want because the Light Warden gets buffed. Yeah.
That's what, well, it feels like a win-win.
You're right.
Also, at worst, you follow it with Death Lord Hero Power.
Yeah.
Sorry, Death Lord Shield.
Power Shield.
Yeah. But now, everything just looks weak, to be completely honest.
Apart from that Frothing.
I mean, that Frothing's buff. He's been going to the gym for a while. It's a bit of a dead draw. Do you just go, like, double trade face with the Frothing?
Kill the girls, hit
yeah,
face,
I think so.
What are you attacking for? 12 at that point with the Frothing?
Sold.
Sign me up, coach.
To the Frothing Berserker gym.
I think you play the N'Zoth's First Mate as well.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
So after you've used your 3/2 weapon charge, you can play in the N'Zoth's First Mate because you're almost always playing Death Spite on the following turn anyway.
I agree.
So you front load a 1 extra damage that way with the First Mate. The argument the other way around is whether you think you're going to need more weapon charges after you've used the Death Spites to either push face or push through additional Death Lord or whatever that's going to come out.
That's a big if when you've got a Frothing Berserker that can't be killed.
I agree. Yeah, and for that reason, that's why I'm advocating to play the N'Zoth's First Mate this time.
And these Light Wardens, let's be completely honest, after the opening that's happened, these are the only real threats you're probably going to see this game.
You can even just play N'Zoth's First Mate and just slam the Death Spite over it this turn if you're really that confident that you want a Death Spite going into the next turn.
I think you can wait. I think there's a variety of draws that mean you didn't need to Death Spite this turn.
Sure.
And just you know, Hero Power is probably not going to do tons, but maybe if there's a minion that gets, you know, and in a fire, it might help you just a tiny bit. Now, though,
Actually, further counter-argument, you could have not played the N'Zoth's First Mate and then equipped Deathspite instead, and then use N'Zoth's First Mate as your activator to set off your Deathspite Whirlwind on the following turn and get you even more frothing damage.
I was like a second behind you on that one,
Oh.
but yeah. Because you can break the thingy for the old patron days and get that whirlwind effect off, and frothing will go nuts.
Even further alternate play, you could have gone back to playing the 1/1 first and then equipped the Deathspite and used that attack of Deathspite to attack on that turn instead. And then just had the second charge loaded up for the following turn anyway. The more I look at it, the more ways of playing that turn I can find.
I just double checked because I don't like to commit things without completely knowing. No Shadow of Deaths in Bertik's list.
Unlucky.
This frothing is just gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Like this with no board, and I feel like it goes all the way back to the Deathlord play. I really, really do. And yeah. Sassy Captain. That's what, 14. Can't cast them both. Wouldn't have got him there anyway. He would have been.
It would have done if he'd gone for the Deathspite
the
and
break.
then pop it with
break,
N'Zoth's First Mate this turn, he would have had it.
Wow.
He would have missed 2 because the N'Zoth's First Mate isn't there being buffed by the captain though.
I wonder if MeknugetZz played Patron Warrior.
Everyone played Patron Warrior. Not everyone played it particularly well.
I don't know how long he's been playing the game.
That's
all I mean.
Sure,
you know, like it was actually a while ago now.
Sure.
We're old in terms of Hearthstone.
Sure.
But yeah, you know, I'm not even saying that in a bad way aimed at him or anything, but that was something you always thought about, right? In Patron Warrior, if you can preemptively proc Whirlwind effects.
Yep.
So, you know, that is something I was just a little bit behind you on that one, but he can if he wants to, but he doesn't, of course. There is small things with Frothing where you trade a 1/1 in, or 1 attack minion in to gain 2 attacks, forget my words out, on the Frothing, but not when it's an Acolyte and you give them extra draws. So MeknugetZz just going to play it safe because, frankly, there's just no answer. There's no answer to this Frothing Berserker.
Pyro, Shadow Visions into Power Word Shield number 2 into what? Is there another 1-mana spell remaining after the Power Word Shield? Because that has to be it, right? He has to deal...
It's just not there.
He has to deal 4 to this board state with spell. Oh, of course, right, Inner Fire. So Power Word Shield into Inner Fire could have potentially cleared the board. No, he's still 1-0. Ugh, ugly, ugly turn.
All comes down to that Velen's Chosen turn. Or not Velen's Chosen turn, should I say.
Potentially you're right,
I really feel like it. Because that would have been such a threat. And if it's left, you trade. If it's not left, well, you can't be in a worse position, right? Yeah, and MeknugetZz is going to take it over Bertik. Bertik did definitely not make it easy for him, though. Although MeknugetZz went 2-0 up, Bertik fought back, but it wasn't quite enough. And finally, his Power Warrior got a win.
Yeah, it took him numerous tries at it. And as I mentioned, I spoke to him backstage, and it was definitely